Annyeonghaseyo, this is meowmurai. Let's continue our game of Despera Drops running on Nintendo Switch 2.
世界を革命してみせましょう。
さっさと行くぞ。これでいいか。
We stood in front of a house tucked away in a residential neighborhood.
ここは
俺の実家だ。
Ash's home. The very place he left when he was 15.
見張られてるかと思ったが、特に誰もいねえな。まあ、どうせ来ても息子なんか知らないって言ってるだろうし。
Ash groaned, surveying his surroundings. He then opened the door and went inside. Oh, it's nice. Switzerland, Baden, September 11th, 2028, 2051, Monday, Meyer home. He appeared to be disgusted, on guard, and afraid of something in the house. His steps were wary, as if a monster lurked inside. I never did ask him why he'd left home, what really happened inside these walls. Right then, I heard the light footsteps of the owner coming from the far end of the house. They must have heard us open the door.
誰？
母さん、俺。
Ash peered at his mother like a child being scolded. There was some resemblance between the two of them. His mother's matching gray eyes lit up.
ペーター、帰ってきたのね。
She called a name that was not his, then hugged him with joy. Ash stiffened.
ペーター。待って母さん、俺は親父じゃ。
アッシュも生まれたばかりなのに全然帰ってこないんだもの。心配していたのよ。出張だったの？
Oh, does she have Alzheimer's?
それよりそちらの女性は誰？職場の方？
I had no idea what was happening. The only thing I understood was that Ash's mother mistook him for his father.
母さん、どうしたんだよ。
ペーター？
Ash retreated a step, afraid that the conversation was going nowhere. In a panic, he flew around the house, opening every door and checking all the rooms. The bedroom, the bathroom, the closet. He checked every last spot in the house. Eventually, he opened a drawer and crouched down on the ground.
嘘だろ。
アッシュさん、
I cautiously approached the drawer and looked inside. It was filled with cards and documents, including a death certificate. It coldly read, Peter Meyer died in an accident. There were also cards from relatives expressing their condolences, and a record of the gravestone, and a photo of a middle-aged man who looked similar to Ash. Even without confirmation, I could tell it was his father. Huh, interesting.
あのクズが事故で死んだっていうのかよ。
Ash's shoulders trembled at the sight of the death certificate. Just as I reached out to console him, I heard his mother shuffle towards us.
ペーター、どうしたの？ねえ、それよりそろそろその女の人は誰か教えてくれない？
Ash's mother glared at me with suspicion, as though I would steal her husband away from her.
母さん、なんで。
ねえ、ペーター、それ何の冗談？どうして私を母さんなんて呼ぶの？アッシュの真似なの？
アッシュは俺だろう。
何を言っているの？アッシュはここにいるじゃない。ようやく捕まり立ちできるようになったのよ。ペーターも喜んでくれたじゃない。
Ash's mother turned around and pointed at a small teddy bear sitting in a chair. Ash and I both froze.
どうしたんだよ、母さん。
Ash's face was painted with despair and sadness. I jumped between them, protecting him.
何？
その急にお邪魔してすみません。彼とは新しく仕事でパートナーになったんです。バーデンには今日来たんですけど、まだ泊まる場所がなくて。 でも安心してください。私にはちゃんと好きな人がいますから。
I smiled reassuringly at her. She seemed to believe my lie.
そうなの？じゃあお仕事のお客さんね。ペーターったらちゃんと言ってくれなきゃダメじゃない。私はこの人の妻のカルラよ。よろしくね。すぐに夕ご飯にしましょう。ペーターが帰ってくるならごちそうにしたのに。待っててね。すぐ作るから。
Carla headed to the kitchen, humming away. Ash just watched her in shock. Soon enough, we were gathered around the dinner table, which was filled with Carla's homemade dishes. The hominess of it was heartbreaking.
それで好きな人ってどんな人なの？
Ash's mother was brimming with curiosity when she asked that question during our meal. She reminded me of a little girl looking to gossip.
すごく優しい人なんです。不器用で無口で、でも細かいところに気づいて気遣ってくれる人なんですよ。
素敵な人なのね。お名前はなんていうの？
アッシュさんです。
まあ、じゃあうちの息子と同じね。うちのアッシュはまだまだやんちゃでトイレも一人で行けない甘えん坊だけれど。
Ash had a complicated look on his face when Carla shared the story of him as a child. Even so, he didn't say anything. He remained silent as not to destroy the fantasy Carla had created.
アッシュ君は今何歳なんですか？
最近ようやく4つになったの。ペーターと3人でこの間ハイキングにも行ったのよ。
ハイキング？
ほら、アッシュが転んじゃって大変だったじゃない。それでペーターがおんぶしてくれて。でもね、アッシュったら帰ってきた途端転んでないっていうのよ。本当に強がりで。
そんなことあったのか。
Carla laughed heartily. She didn't see Ash as her son. She seemed so happy as she went on and on about her little boy, who was hers no longer. It was sheer misery to witness. Switzerland, Baden, September 11th, 2028, 23:32, Monday, Meyer home. That night, Carla showed me to the guest room, but I couldn't sleep a wink. I slid out of bed and walked to the living room. Ash was sitting there alone, staring vacantly out the window. I hesitated to call out at the sight of his lonely profile. I couldn't say a word. I didn't know what to say. His mother didn't recognize him as her son, and to make things worse, he just found out that his father had died.
アッシュさん。
I tentatively called his name, and he finally turned around.
ああ、お前か。
Ash smiled weakly.
眠れないのか？
はい。アッシュさんは。
He gave me a feeble shake of his head, shifting his attention to the shining moon.
俺はどうすればよかったんだろうな。悪い。早くどこに逃げるか決めないといけないって分かってるのに。
I walked closer, and he looked up at me. There was so much pain in his gray eyes.
どうすればいいかよくわからないんだ。
There was such hollowness to his gaze. He was at his wit's end, and he sounded so lost, almost childlike. Unable to find the words, Ash took shallow breaths. The look in his eyes told me he yearned to cry, but the tears wouldn't come. I approached him where he sat and cradled his head, stroking his hair with an almost maternal caress. Ash buried his face in my chest, trying to hold back his sobs. He timidly wrapped his arms around me, practically begging for warmth.
俺はずっと親父を憎んでたんだ。それこそ殺したいぐらい。だから一度も帰らなかった。今日も少しだけでも金を借りられたら。 それで出ていくつもりだったんだ。それなのになんで死んでんだよ。なんで母さんは嬉しそうに親父の名前を呼ぶんだよ。あんな親父の名前を。
Ash sounded like he was crying, but no tears fell. He was suffering from the pain of his past, yet he tried to endure. I simply kept quiet and held him.
アッシュさん、どうして家を出たのか聞いてもいいですか？
He flinched when I asked. I rubbed his back, telling him through touch that there was no need to be afraid.
私は何を聞いても大丈夫ですから言ってください。
でもきっと軽蔑する。お前にそう思われるのだけは。
私は軽蔑したりしません。まだ信じられませんか？
I pulled away for a moment and looked him in the eye. I wanted him to have faith in me.
私はアッシュさんのことを知りたいです。アッシュさんのお話を聞かせてください。
He breathed heavily for a time, then finally gave a slight nod. I took a seat next to him, and he began to open up.
俺がこの家を出たのはこのままじゃいつか親父を殺しちまうって思ったからなんだ。
I patiently waited for him to continue. The sound of the night blared through the silence. A motorcycle revved in the distance. A dog barked. It all felt awfully loud.
俺の親父は鉱山で働いてたんだけど、落盤事故で怪我をしてからは働かなくなってさ、叫びたりになって酔うと母さんを殴るようになったんだ。酒を買ってこいって怒鳴る声と母さんを罵る親父の声ばかり聞こえる毎日だった。俺が覚えてるのはそれだけだ。ハイキングに行ったことなんて今日聞くまで忘れてたんだ。母さんは文句一つ言わなかった。親父の代わりに働いて俺を育ててくれて、そんな母さんをあのクソ野郎は何度も殴った。ずっと俺は怖かった。寝てる時も起きてる時も親父に怯えて生きて、ただ現実から逃げたくて本ばかり読んでた。親父の暴力は何年経ってもなくならなかった。むしろ年々ひどくなっている気がした。
Well, this is a game about despair, so, everybody has a little backstory. Plus, they're all criminals, which, most criminals have some sort of backstory.
だからさ、俺母さんを連れて逃げようってずっと思って金を貯めたりしてたんだ。学校を卒業したらって。でもその日、あんまり親父が母さんをひどく殴るもんだから、俺止めなきゃダメだって思ったんだ。止めようと思っただけだったんだ。
Oh, okay. I kind of see where this is going.
いや、お願い、許してペーター。
うるさい！どいつもこいつも俺をバカにして、俺が悪いのか？酒を切らすなって言っただろ！くそ！やめろよ。やめろよ、親父！親父を殴って拳についた血を見た瞬間、何もわからなくなったんだ。このクソ野郎と同じ血が俺にも流れてるんだって。そう思ったら許せなくなって、手が止まらなくなって。 警察が来るのが遅れてたら親父を殴り殺してた。それが始まりだったんだ。
Little by little, Ash told me about his past. He was still a minor when it happened, and it was a problem within the family, so he wasn't convicted. But ever since, the sight of blood made him lose it. He wound up assaulting other people outside his family. Carla wanted Ash to further his education past his 9 mandatory years of schooling, but he couldn't even go to school after the incident. If he stayed at home, he knew he'd end up killing his father. That prompted his decision to leave.
それからはお前に話した通りだ。なるべく人と関わらないようにしながら街を転々として、ずっとここには戻らなかった。本当は家を出るときに母さんも連れて行こうとしたんだ。でも母さんはあのクソ野郎を一人にできないって言って残ったんだ。母さんを殴ってたやつなのに母さんは見捨てなかった。それなのになんで勝手に死んでんだよ。母さんをあんな風にして。
Ash covered his face with both hands, looking down. All I could do was stroke his back. Honestly, I had an idea as to why Carla turned out this way. She was reliving the happiest moments of her life. Everything had fallen apart when Peter was injured during the cave-in. Her husband became an alcoholic and died in an accident. Her son ran away from home, and she denied it, retreating into safe and happy memories. I couldn't really blame her for finding joy in that. The next morning, I woke to the sounds of humming and sizzling food. Switzerland, Baden, September 12th, 2028, 7:41, Tuesday, Meyer home.
おはよう。よく眠れた？
Carla was in the kitchen, cooking our breakfast in a pleasant mood.
はい、ありがとうございました。手伝います。
まあ、本当？じゃあ、お願いしようかしら。
We cooked together in the kitchen for a while before Ash woke up. He looked even gloomier than usual. Carla burst out laughing at the sight.
ペーターったらアッシュみたいな顔しないでちょうだい。
アッシュ君っていつもそんな感じなんですか？
そうなの。内気なのか友達といる時もいっつも難しい顔してて。でもとっても優しい子なのよ。
Carla smiled softly, as though she were seeing an invisible young Ash here and now.
ペーターが仕事道具の手入れをしていると手伝うんだなんて言ってアッシュも手伝ったりして本当に仲がいいの。
Carla talked about memories from the distant past, memories long since lost to Ash, like they had happened only yesterday. Even after we finished breakfast and washed the dishes, Carla continued to share her story. She seemed happy to gush about her son.
それでね、ペーターは絶対男の子ならアッシュって名前がいいって言ってて、生まれてくるのを毎日毎日楽しみにしていたの。見て、あれはアッシュが生まれてくるときにペーターが作ってくれたおもちゃなのよ。ほら、アッシュが楽しそうに遊んでいるわ。
Carla gestured to some building blocks on the floor. Needless to say, Ash wasn't there, just a raggedly old teddy bear. Ash got up from his seat. He looked like he couldn't take it anymore. He glared sharply at his own hands, but said nothing. Without another word, he stormed into a room that was supposed to belong to Peter.
ペーターったらどうしたのかしら。
Yeah, this really sucks. Carla tilted her head in confusion. I couldn't give her an answer. After that, I spent my time talking to Carla while Ash holed himself up in the room. She was so excited, saying it had been a long time since her husband was home for some time off. I I was her first guest in ages, too.
まあ、あなたが好きなアッシュさんもそんなに無口なの？
はい、あんまり話すことが好きじゃなかったみたいで、他の友達といる時もずっと黙ってたんです。でも最近は聞くといろいろ話してくれるんですよ。
うちのアッシュと同じね。あの子も自分の考えを口にするのが苦手で、何を聞いても黙り込んじゃうの。でもゆっくり聞いていくと、いろいろ考えていることがわかるのよ。
Wanting to know more about Ash, I peppered her with questions. She was more than happy to answer them all. The moment when Ash called her mom for the first time, or the moment when Ash called her mom for the first time, his favorite food, the books he always read. Her stories never stopped. It was clear Ash was born into a loving home, with his parents excitedly anticipating his arrival. Except the fact that Carla didn't recognize him now and made him feel unbearably lonely. Right then, the door opened to reveal Ash.
あら、ペーター。よかった、出てきたのね。
Ash was holding something in his hand. He looked like he was about to say something, but he froze when she called him by his father's name.
どうしたの？
なんでもない。
Ash hid the documents in his hands and averted his eyes. Carla shot him a questioning look. Then she glanced at her watch, then shot to her feet.
あら、いけない。そろそろ夕飯の買い物に行かなきゃ。ちょっと待っててね。
Once his mother rushed out of the room, Ash came over to me.
悪い。母さんの相手をお前に任せて。
いえ、大丈夫です。アッシュさんが子供の頃のお話を聞くのは楽しいですし。
Hold on a minute. His face softened for the first time since we got here.
お前がいてくれてよかった。母さんが笑った姿なんてもう何年も見てなかったから。
Even though her lack of recognition gave him mixed feelings, he still cared for her at the end of the day. Despite the unfortunate events leading up to this moment, he was more than content to see her smile.
それより、その書類は。
No sooner had I asked this out of curiosity than Carla wished back into the room.
あ、それより、あなたバーデンは初めてなのよね。温泉は行った？
温泉があるんですか？
ええ、バーデンはスイスでも有数の温泉地なのよ。ペーターも仕事が終わった後に入るのが好きで、よく3人で行ったわ。あ、そうだ。ペ ペーターにアッシュを任せて、これから二人で一緒に温泉へ行かない？それでお夕飯は近くのお店でみんなで食べるの。そうよ、それが一番だわ。せっかくバーデンに来たんだもの。観光に行かなきゃ。
Carla's eyes sparkled as she got ready to go to the hot spring. Neither of us could stop her now. Hot springs, huh? I realized I'd never gone to one in Europe. The idea of going to hot springs did sound appealing, aside from the fact that we were still fugitives. But I didn't have the heart to reject Carla's offer, given how excited she was. I looked up at Ash, who was standing stock still and at a loss. Oddly enough, his face was bright red.
待ってくれ。
どうしたんですか？
その
Ash stopped short, struggling to make himself clear. Embarrassed, he put a hand over his mouth and mumbled into it.
温泉はやめた方がいいと思う。
そうですよね。のんびり入ってる場合でもないですし。
いや、それもあるんだが、温泉は男女混浴だから。
え？
お前の体が他の男に見られるのは嫌だ。
Ash's reaction caught me by surprise. The honesty of it made my cheeks heat up. Cheeks on the face. His expression was dead serious. With his eyes locked on mine, I hesitantly nodded.
わかりました。
母さんにやめるように言っておく。
Ash walked over to Carla, who was busy getting ready. She sulked when he struck down her plan, and they argued for a bit. Eventually, we agreed to have Ash cook dinner for the night. Dinner ended peacefully. Following that, the police dropped by the house. Ash and I hid in the shadows while Carla dealt with them. She pointed to thin air and told them Ash is right here, see? The police then left, like this was merely routine for them. Our other pursuers likely weren't here yet. Switzerland, Baden, September 13, 2028, midnight, Wednesday, Meyer home. What should we do now? That night, after everyone went to sleep, I was lying in bed, staring blankly at the ceiling. Police were bound to look for a criminal in their home, first and foremost. Surely they stopped by from time to time ever since he went on the watch list, or the wanted list. Each time Carla probably told them Ash was here in the house when really there was no one at all, just as she had today. With the bounty on our heads, if we were seen by a neighbor, they would report us to the police immediately. And there's been no contact from the others, as usual. I tried to get in touch with them several times, but no one responded. My anxiety grew as I wondered whether they were safe. We needed to get away from here as soon as possible. Yet we couldn't just leave Carla, who was thrilled to have her husband home. Right then I heard footsteps paddling down the hallway. Someone was leaving the house. The footfall sounded familiar. I assumed it was Ash. I got up from my bed and followed him. Ash stopped once he reached a cemetery. I watched from the shadows as he stood in front of a gravestone. The name engraved on the stone was Peter Meyer. It was his father's grave.
本当にくたばってやがるのかよ。
Ash muttered something while standing in front of the grave.
なんで保険なんか入ってんだよ。自分が死ぬとでも思ってたのかよ。これで母さんにしてきたことが許されるとでも思ってるのかよ。
His low voice carried through the night, never receiving a reply. That didn't stop him from speaking to his father's grave, or rather, his father's ghost.
言っとくけど、俺は許さねえからな。叫びたりになって家庭をめちゃくちゃにして母さんを殴って結局一人にしてあんな風にしてあんたさえいなければ俺も。
For the very first time, a single tear fell from Ash's eye. He punched the gravestone as he continued. The impacts of his fist on stone were faint.
俺は絶対にあんたみてえにはならねえからな。必ずミカを守りきってみせる。あいつを泣かせたりはしない。絶対に泣かせたくねえのに。
The thumping sound stopped. Hanging his head, Ash sat down in front of the gravestone. The hand he'd used to punch the stone dangled weakly beside him.
あんたみたいにはなりたくないって思ってたのに。結局好きな女一人守れてねえじゃねえか。
Ash murmured this last bit in a stifled voice. He looked so fragile even from behind. It had me rooted to the spot. No, I needed to go back. Feeling guilty for spying on him, I retreated a few steps. At that moment, Ash whipped his head around to where I was standing. His eyes went wide.
ミカ。
He saw me. Feeling sheepish, I emerged from my hiding place.
ごめんなさい。どこへ行くのか気になってしまって。
いや、大丈夫だ。
Ash wiped away his tears, then smiled bitterly.
んなとこ突っ立ってないでこっちに来いよ。
いいんですか？
まあ、今さらお前に隠すもんなんてないだろ。
I went up and took a seat next to him. The slightly aged gravestone shone in the moonlight.
私もお参りしていいですか？
ああ。
I offered my regards to Peter with Ash at my side. Ash brushed the dust off the gravestone with his fingertips. Looking at how the grave hadn't been maintained for a while, I realized Carla truly had forgotten that her husband died.
親父が死んだなんてどうしても信じられなくてさ。今日一日親父の部屋を探って墓の場所を調べたんだ。そうしたら親父が保険に入ってたって書類が出てきてさ。だから母さんに聞こうと思ったんだ。でもできなかった。母さんが俺を親父の名前で呼んだりするから。
He must have been referring to the documents he hid when he came out of the room. He'd given up on asking his mother because his mother called him Peter. Surely he didn't want his mother to be hit with the crushing reality.
書類を見る限り保険金の受け取りはできてたからさ。最初は死んだって認識できてたみたいなんだ。でも葬式が終わってしばらくしてから急に母さんが親父が生きているみたいに話すようになったみたいでさ。おじからの手紙に現実を受け入れろ、ペーターは死んだだろうって書かれてた。何度も。
Oh, he has an uncle?
なんつうの、結局母さんは認めなかったのか。そのうちおじも諦めたみたいだった。どうしてあんな風になっちまったんだろうな。なんで死んじまったんだろうな。
Ash shot a mournful look at the gravestone.
今も信じらんねえんだよ。書類には車でひかれたって書かれてたけどさ。俺がいた頃親父は家から出なかったんだ。足の怪我を言い訳にして仕事も酒を買いに行くのも母さんに任せて、毎日毎日怠けてばっかのあの親父がなんで。
The night breeze caressed my cheek. Neither of us said anything for a while. We simply stared at his father's grave. Ash broke the silence with a murmur.
俺は親父みたいなクズになりたくないってずっと思ってた。俺だけはまっとうな人間になってみせるって。それなのに気がつけば親父以上のクズになっちまった。
そんな、アッシュさんはクズじゃありません。
バカ言うな。そういうのは前科がないやつに言ってやれ。
Ash faced me with a wry smile on his face.
でもありがとな。 そう言ってくれて。俺は家を出てからずっとクズの息子は所詮クズにしかなれないんだって思って生きてきたんだ。でもお前は俺を一度もそんな目で見なかった。ずっと俺を肯定してくれた。だからせめて最後に好きな女一人守るくらいの格好はつけさせてくれ。
Ash gently took my hand. He was wearing motorcycle gloves, so I couldn't read his mind. However, his eyes said all I needed to know. His feelings for me, his tenderness, it was all there.
俺はお前を母さんみたいにはしない。必ず俺が守る。お前が元の日常に戻れるようにしてみせるから。
He pulled my hand closer and kissed my fingertips, like he was pledging an oath. Those words should have been filled with kindness and compassion, yet somehow he sounded like he was distancing himself from me. If I managed to return to my everyday life, where would he go?
アッシュさん。
I didn't want him to go anywhere. I wanted him to be with me, forever. Just as I was about to give voice to my wish, a tepid gust blew past us. It carried the ominous stench of blood. Ash spun around and shielded me on reflex. Deep in the darkness of the cemetery, something shimmered in the moonlight. A living thing, not a dead one. Loud panting filled the air, sounding as though it might taper off at any moment. The figure finally appeared before us, swaying from side to side. Oh boy, is it Child Nurse here? Yeah, she's back. It was Child Nurse. Finally got over her monarch, huh? Chapter 15, Ash, Assassin's Dagger. Switzerland, Baden, September 13th, 2028, 12:45 a.m., Wednesday, cemetery.
やっぱりあんたらはここに来たね。
I mean, Child Nurse is certainly going through some things too right now. She found out her boss, I guess, monarch was that. I mean, she must mean more to. He must have meant more to her than just being a boss. But yeah. Strangely enough, our assailant, who was supposed to give chase, was already out of breath.
お前なんで。
あんたらならきっとここに来ると思っていたわ。
読まれてたのかよ。
Ash prepared to fight, his hair standing on end. With a fearless smile, Child Nurse held her box cutter high in the sky, then dropped it to the ground as though she intended to surrender.
Huh?
Child Nurse kneeled to one side. Then she crumpled to her knees, staring at us in the dark. It looked like she was crying for help. Only then did I realize half her body was covered in thick black blood.
何があんたの言う通り、彼はハートフィールドは殺されていたわ。彼の指令だって信じて、これまであんたらを追ってきたけど、もう彼はいなかったのよ。
Oh, we're getting Child Nurse's Despera too. What the heck? It's 2 Desperas in 1.
チャンセラーはモナークがもうこの世にいないことを知っていながら、彼からの指令だと偽り、私を利用していた。
Of course, Chancellor knew that Monarch was gone. Chancellor killed Monarch.
そのことを問い詰め、あいつを、チャンセラーを殺してやろうと思ったのに。でもあいつの腹心のハウススチュワードに返り討ちにあったってわけ。笑っちゃじゃない。
Considering how winded she was, it had to be true. Still, Ash didn't let his guard down or allow me to budge. He had me step back, glaring daggers at her.
つまりクラウンを裏切ったってことか。
そうあるわ。もう私はチャイルドナースじゃない。ただのジュヌビエーブっていう死にかけの女よ。
Oh, we even get her last name. Okay. Genevieve. That must have been her real name, just like how Crystal was called Heidegger. This woman had been living under a false name, all because she was a member of this secret organization.
私はこの傷じゃ助からない。助かっても殺されるだろうね。だからあんたたちに一つ頼みがあるのよ。
Genevieve's eyes shone with determination as she told us there was more work to be done. Ash coldly stared her down.
俺の腹に穴を開けておいてずいぶん都合がいいな。
分かってるわ。あんたらの恨みを買ってるってことはね。でもそれがそこの子猫ちゃんの追われる理由をなくすとしても、私の提案を無視するかしら。
Oh, I don't know. I kind of like her hair. It's like a rocker chick.
なんだと。
I can deter Crown from going after me.
そもそも子猫ちゃんを狙ってるのはチャンセラーだけなのよ。あいつが独断でやっていることに私たちはまんまとモナークの命令だと思って乗せられてたわけ。
According to Genevieve, Monarch's death had yet to be revealed to the rest of Crown. Monarch was the head of Crown. If word got out that Chancellor, the second in command, covered up the murder, he would have to face punishment.
もしモナーク殺しの情報が明るみに出れば、チャンセラーは裏切り者として今度は追われる立場になるはずよ。チャンセラーが子猫ちゃんを使って何をするつもりか知らないけれど、あいつが破滅すればきっと終われなくなる。
Are they really gonna have her die? It seemed like she'd be useful to us if we got her healed up.
それにハートフィールドを殺した実行犯をメディアで公表できれば、世間的にも子猫ちゃんは冤罪だって証明されるわ。
Oh, well, I hate to tell you this, but Chancellor killed Monarch.
そうすればこいつは無罪になってクラウンからも追われなくなるっていうのか。
そもそも子猫ちゃんを捕まえろって指令がモナークのものじゃなかったんだもの。私みたいに従わなくなるやつもいるはずよ。チャンセラーが何を企んでいるかは知らないけど、モナークが死んでからの命令は全部クラウンの総意じゃないの。
That should include the time we were made to steal the Corona d'Argento. Ash and I exchanged glances. If what she said was true, and everything that had happened was for Chancellor's personal gain instead of Crown, once he lost his position, all of us, not just me, would no longer have to run.
それが本当だっていう証拠はあるのか。
私が嘘をついているかどうかは子猫ちゃんが触れればわかるでしょう。私はモナークのハートフィールドの敵討ちがしたいだけ。あいつと差し違えられればそれでいいのよ。私はハートフィールドに救われたの。彼に救われたこの命は彼のためにしか
使えない。このまま無駄死にじゃ許されないの。だからやらなきゃいけないのよ。
Genevieve expressed her true feelings and desperately reached her hand out to me. She looked at me with pleading eyes, as though offering up a prayer. I took her hand. Someone lay dead at my feet. I heard the steady drip of blood. The tiny hand holding the box cutter trembled. The tiny hand holding the box cutter trembled.
私だってパパがママと私を。
The little girl kept repeating the same words over and over again, saying she had no choice because she had to defend herself. Not wanting to see her mother suffer another moment of beating, she picked up a box cutter on the table and warned her father not to come any closer. She never intended to kill him. Papa beat up Mama so bad she stopped moving. Then Papa walked towards me. But now Papa's not moving anymore, and neither is Mama. What about me? What am I supposed to do? The girl yanked the box cutter towards her own throat, but someone grabbed the blade before it could pierce her flesh.
死んではダメだ。
The blade dug into the man's hand, digging a fresh stream of blood. Ignoring his injury, he snatched the weapon away from her. He gazed at the little girl with tenderness.
彼が錯乱していると聞いて様子を見に来たが。大丈夫かい？遅くなってすまなかったね。お前たち、適切な処理を。はっ!
Agents in black hauled the bodies out, then sprinkled chemicals on the floor. The stench of blood vanished, erasing proof of the couple's death along with it.
私パパを。
大丈夫だ。君は誰も殺していない。だから死ぬ必要もない。
The little girl insisted she killed her father because he'd assaulted her and her mother.
君には父親なんていなかったんだ。君を苦しめる父親なんていなかった。私が今日から君の父になろう。
His warm hand extended towards her. This was the man she referred to as her dad. His gesture warmed her heart. The girl's voice was calm as she murmured a mantra, trying to convince herself that the person she'd killed was a stranger. I tugged my hand away from Genevieve, earning a sorrowful smile from her.
今のはハートフィールドさん。じゃあハートフィールドさんはあなたにとって父親のような存在だったってこと？
So her story is very similar to Ash. It's just that she actually killed her father.
あんたが人の記憶を見られるってのは本当なのね。そうよ。これが私がハートフィールドの敵討ちをする理由。チャンセラーを許せないわけよ。彼が救ってくれなきゃ私は父親殺しのクズのまま死んでた。そんな私に生きる場所をくれた人なの。
I guess it kind of explains why she's so, like, twisted. She was, like, heavily abused when she was younger, and then she committed murder when she was young.
だから何としてでも暴きたいのよ。死んだことすら隠されて、あの人がただ利用されるだけなんて我慢できない。だからお願い、あんたたちの力を貸して。
Genevieve clenched her teeth, catching her breath. She mustered the last of her strength to inch closer to us. I turned to Ash and nodded, confirming that she was telling the truth.
俺はミカの無実が証明されて身の安全が保証されればそれでいい。
なら
お前の頼みだからじゃねえ。ミカのためだ。モナーク殺しの証拠を掴んでやる。
When Ash agreed, Genevieve's eyes welled with tears. She seemed extremely grateful.
なら私の知ってることを全部話すわ。チャンセラーがいる場所は多分。
Oh, did she just fight House Steward? Because they're still in danger. Right then, Genevieve turned around. The edge of a blade reflected in the moonlight. A black shadow leapt forward, severe, steely fangs bared as it dashed through the cemetery. Genevieve just barely dodged the blade, swung in her direction. It was House Steward. Oh, sorry, House Steward. What the hell did I say? Yeah. The thin blade he'd unsheathed from his cane had an eerie glow.
おや、意外としぶといですね。だが所詮は死に損ない。裏切り者はそこでおとなしくしていなさい。
House Steward kicked Genevieve, sending her flying. Her back slammed into a gravestone and she collapsed. House Steward held his blade aloft, staring down at her motionless body.
これは頂上。裏切り者を追ってターゲットも見つけられるとは予想もしていませんでした。では改めまして失礼いたします。我が主人の命によりあなた様のお命を頂戴させていただきます。アッシュ・マイヤー殿。
くそ。
Ash shielded me and raised his fist, then darted forward. He threw a punch at his opponent, not fearing the weapon in his hand. House Steward blocked the attack with his cane.
その程度で私は倒せませんぞ。
Ash narrowly evaded the sword swishing at him, then struck out at House Steward again. It was a fierce battle between two of them, fist and sword swinging and missing in a flurry of blows. But House Steward's sword was deadly, making it hard for Ash to close the distance. He gradually found himself cornered. I mean, we could probably mention that Monarch is dead. Moonbeams caught by the blade made it the only source of light in the dark cemetery. In an instant, the sword was right in front of Ash. Before I could even scream, crimson blood blossomed in the air. Except the one pierced by the blade was not Ash. The sharp tip of the sword was buried deep in Genevieve's body.
なんて。
おや、これは予想外ですな。まさかあのチャイルドナースが身を挺して人を救うとは。
あんたらの思い通りにはさせたくないからさ。
How Steward wrenched his sword out of her flesh. Without anything to hold on to, Genevieve fell to her knees.
ジェネビエーブ。
瀕死のチャイルドナースなど後回しにして先に彼をと思っていたのですが、邪魔をされるならば先に息の根を止めておくべきでしたね。
How Steward aimed his sword at Ash, whose breath came ragged as he faced the blood-stained blade. His pupils dilated, revealing his ferocious side. He had plunged into a frenzy at the sight of blood. Losing his cool, Ash charged forward and attacked House Steward.
ああ、いた。
Oh, was the crew here too? Right before the fierce battle could resume, I heard a carefree yet familiar voice, and I nearly burst into tears.
サリー。
アッシュ、ミカ、セロ。
Ash grabbed me in a flash, and we tumbled to the earth. Right then, a gunshot rang out. House Steward sprang back, blocking the bullet.
おいおい、とんでもないとこに出ちまったじゃないか。
おや、あなた方は。今晩のご訪問はお控えいただきたいのですが。
二人から今すぐ離れてください。でないと爆弾を投げます。
いや、それ全員巻き込むやつじゃん。
一歩も動くな。武器を捨てろ。
これは残念ですが、目的は一つ果たしましたからね。今夜はここまでにしてまた出直すといたしましょう。
とりあえず記録しておけ。
これで問題ありませんか？
Okay, we are getting close to the top of the hour, so we're going to stop it there. This is meowmurai. You've been watching Despera Drops, running on Nintendo Switch 2. Boy, what a bizarre chain of events. I mean, I said it. The story is very unpredictable. I'll give it that. Anyway, I hope you enjoyed watching. I will see you at the next stream.